everyone, welcome back. This week we'll be cooking 3 different juicy preparations of pork loin. What is a pork loin? Well, it comes from the back of the pig, but it is a completely different piece of meat from the smaller, more tender tenderloin. It is characterized by having a thin fat cap on top and a very lean interior, hence why this cut is notorious for coming out dry. The 3 recipes I'll show you today will be anything but that, perfectly tender yet juicy, starting off with a pork cutlet or tonkatsu. Start by slicing your pork across the grain into slices about 3/4 of an inch thick. Set them aside on a sheet tray momentarily while we fill a deep cast iron pan halfway up with canola oil before bringing it up to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. While our oil is heating, fill a bowl with about 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a separate bowl with 2 cups of panko breadcrumbs. I prefer to season the meat directly on both sides rather than add salt to the flour. Coat each cutlet completely in flour before dipping into an egg wash and then transferring into your bowl of panko. The technique here is to use one hand for your flour and panko while using the other hand for the eggs, also known as the wet hand, dry hand technique. This will minimize the mess and stop yourself from breading your own fingers in the process. Once our oil has reached 375 degrees Fahrenheit, we can add our cutlets 2 at a time to the oil, slowly laying them away from you. If you accidentally drop them, this will make the oil splash the opposite direction. Fry for about 2 minutes on each side or until golden brown. Remove from the oil and place on a wire rack to rest and immediately season with salt. I like to slice these up and serve them over a bowl of rice, maybe a little homemade katsu sauce and some green onion, and you have an easy weeknight dinner in under 30 minutes. Next, we will be reverse searing a pork loin, which is essentially roasting at a low temperature until nearly cooked through and then searing the meat as opposed to searing before roasting. As you can see, this loin was already trussed when I bought it, but for educational purposes, I'll be showing you how. Simply bring a length of kitchen twine about 1/3 of the way into the loin and tie a simple knot to secure your first truss. You want this to be snug, but not so tight it cuts into the meat. Bring the string over another third, hold in place with a finger, and bring the length of string around the meat and tuck it underneath itself. Flip the loin over and tuck the length underneath your trusses and tie off at the beginning. Cut off any excess string before seasoning on all sides. Place onto a wire-racked sheet tray and into a 275 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 30 minutes or until the internal temperature of the pork is 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove the trussing and transfer it into a smoking hot cast iron pan and sear on each side until golden brown. Remove from the heat and allow to rest for 10 to 15 minutes. And there you have it, perfectly cooked, insanely juicy roast pork loin. Finally, we'll be doing a stuffed or rolled pork roast. Start by slicing your loin 1/3 of the way up horizontally, 2/3 of the way through. Simply repeat the cut, unfurling your roast until you have a roughly flat piece of meat. Season well with salt and set aside while we prepare the stuffing. You will need to finely chop about 10 cloves of garlic, a moderate handful of parsley, and an entire bunch of chives. Add 2 tablespoons of good Dijon mustard and stir to combine. Place a few dollops onto the meat and spread out into an even layer across the meat's surface. Then, roll the pork back up tightly before trussing it to hold it together. This piece is larger than the last and required 3 trusses as opposed to 2. Place onto a wire rack and roast in a 375 degree Fahrenheit oven for 30 to 40 minutes or until the internal temperature reaches 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Allow to rest for 15 minutes before slicing and serving. Once again, incredibly juicy as promised. This is also awesome the next day on a sandwich, sort of like a poor man's porchetta. This is also fantastic with my apple mustard sauce, recipe in the description below. Thank you for tuning in and I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more.